This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
We now turn our attention back to Nigeria, where there has been a conversation particularly around corruption and allegations of bribery. Now, that conversation comes with the federal government dismissing the bribery allegations directed at the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu by Tigran Gambaryan of Binance. He served as the head of financial compliance with the crypto platform. Mr. Gambaryan was released from Nigeria in October of 2024, and he had previously accused 3 lawmakers of demanding a $150 million bribe from him to end his incarceration. Now, these accusations are coming at a time when stakeholders in the crypto space continue to anticipate the growth of the secure alternate payment platform. Joining the conversation this morning is Timi Odueso, a tech journalist. Mr. Odueso, good morning. Thank you for joining us on the conversation.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
What is your reaction to the allegations and the pushback from the federal government?
I think, from my perspective, I don't know that I was surprised or anyone who has been in the tech space was surprised at the allegations. We primarily covered Tigran and Binance's, problems in Nigeria last year. So the accusations that were published on Wired were not exactly surprising, and neither was the Nigerian government's rebuttal. Mostly because there's such a thing as good faith, and the Nigerian government has not exactly always delivered on it. But the Gambaryan and Binance came with facts. So when we read it, it was, this makes plausible sense. Because even last year, while the whole problems were happening, everyone was still asking why. This doesn't make sense. This is too drawn out. There were suspicions. It was not very clear why this person was being detained for so long for what seemed like, would continue forever. So I don't think anyone was surprised at the allegations or the rebuttal itself.
So let's quickly talk about global perceptions, right? Since his release from custody, I don't know that we've necessarily seen much of an uproar, whether that's from the US government itself or even from tech companies across the world. What's the conversation in tech spaces right now? What's the perception about Nigeria?
Well, I think like I said, no one is exactly surprised. Tigran's case has been, everything Tigran is saying now are things that the tech community has known.
So, Mr. Odueso, if I may interrupt you, I mean, I hear you. What you've said now about people not being surprised is perhaps expected within the Nigerian community. But I'm curious as to what the conversations are, say, across the African continent, across the US, in Europe. Were they paying? Binance is a global player. So to what extent would you say these tech spaces were paying attention to these unfoldings, and what's their perception of our country?
Well, I would say the perception is one of dismay. Everyone is definitely worried that a business in Nigeria could go awry, given how regulation is really unclear. Nobody expected that. At least from a global tech perspective, nobody expected that when Tigran and Nadeem came in February 2024, they would spend months in Nigeria. So there's a lot of skepticism when it comes to doing business with the country because it's not exactly clear. But then when you look at it from a more global perspective, when you look at it from what happened even globally in the US last year, crypto laws under Biden administration for the past 2 years have sort of clamped down on crypto and stable coins and everything. So the Nigeria doing the same with Binance and other crypto companies last year was a little bit expected because it was going on around the world. The only problem is now that people themselves are worried about what this means for the future of crypto in Nigeria. Already, it seems like we might be following the steps of the US, given that President Trump's new administration is crypto-friendly and pro-crypto and all those things. But they are still worried. The perception of all these things is one that, hey, look, regulation in Nigeria can be a bitch. And now it's now crossing the company veil. So now instead of just punishing the company, you're also punishing individuals. So people are asking questions. So if something happens, will only the company be punished as company laws have it and our SEC rules have it, or are they going to victimize the persons as well. What does coming into Nigeria to start a business? So everyone is reasonably worried.
Right.
And the perception is they are very unsure.
Well, Mr. Odueso, thank you very much for your time and your expertise on this conversation. Timi Odueso is a tech journalist who joined us this morning to speak on the federal government's waiving off the allegations of bribery that were hurled essentially at the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu and some Nigerian lawmakers by recently released Binance head of financial compliance Tigran Gambaryan, as well as Nigeria, the perception of corruption about Nigeria in Africa and the entire world. You're still on to Radio Now 95.3 FM, your Beyond the News station. We ask you to stay tuned. In a few short moments, we'll be turning to News Extra and a conversation about AI. Do stay with us.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.